The alarm went off at 4:45. It had been going off at 4:45 for 3 years, ever since her husband walked out the door and didn't come back. Chloe didn't hit snooze. She couldn't afford to. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, stepped over a pile of laundry that needed folding, and padded into the tiny kitchen of their two-bedroom apartment in a town called Meadow Creek. The coffee was instant. The milk was almost gone. She made 1 cup and drank it standing up, staring at the calendar on the wall. Monday, home nursing client at 7. Cleaning job at 11. Afternoon shift at the diner from 3 to 9. Tuesday, the same. Wednesday through Sunday, the same, with variations. Chloe was 37 years old, but she looked 50. Not because of her face, she still had the same warm eyes and quick smile that made her clients trust her, but because of her hands. Her knuckles were red and cracked from cleaning supplies. Her shoulders curved forward from lifting patients who couldn't lift themselves. She had stopped looking in mirrors a long time ago, not out of vanity, but because she didn't recognize the exhausted woman staring back. Her daughter, Sadie, was 11 going on 30. She got herself up for school, made her own breakfast, and helped her little brother, Caleb, tie his shoes. Caleb was 7. He had the kind of boundless energy that needed a backyard to run in, but they didn't have a backyard. They had a concrete patch behind the apartment building where the dumpsters lived. He ran there anyway, dodging broken glass and old cigarette butts, because 7-year-olds don't know they deserve better. Chloe's parents had died within 18 months of each other. Her mother first, quietly, in a hospice bed that Chloe held her hand through. Then her father, less quietly, alone in the house he refused to leave. The inheritance was a set of chipped dishes and a car that broke down twice a month. Her ex-husband sent money when he remembered, which was rarely. Child support was a joke he had stopped telling. But Chloe had 2 things that kept her going. One was the way Sadie read to Caleb at night, her voice doing all the different characters, never complaining that the book had been checked out from the library 3 times already. The other was the belief, stubborn, unreasonable, probably stupid, that tomorrow might be different. She didn't know how. She just knew she had to keep walking until she found out. The accident happened on a Tuesday. It had been raining since dawn, the kind of steady, miserable rain that turns sidewalks into rivers and makes every driver forget how headlights work. Chloe had just finished her cleaning job and picked up the kids from the after-school program. They were walking home, sharing a broken umbrella that tilted toward Caleb because he was smaller. Sadie was telling a story about a girl in her class who had thrown up during a spelling test. Caleb was jumping over every puddle he could find. They were 2 blocks from home when the van ran the red light. Chloe heard the engine first. Then the screech of tires on wet pavement. Then something that wasn't a screech at all, but a sound she had never heard before and would never forget, the deep, sickening crunch of metal meeting metal, except the metal was a vehicle and the other thing was her body. She had shoved Sadie and Caleb toward the sidewalk before she even knew what she was doing. Her arms flung out like springs. The van hit her from the side, and the world became a blur of water, pain, and the distant sound of her children screaming. She woke up in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Her leg was in a cast from her ankle to her thigh. A nurse told her she had been unconscious for 6 hours. Surgery had been necessary, a metal rod, several screws, and a recovery time of at least 3 months. No weight on the leg. No work. No driving. No carrying laundry or lifting patients or scrubbing floors on her hands and knees. Chloe looked at the ceiling and tried to remember how to breathe. Sadie was in the chair next to the bed, holding Caleb's hand. Both of them were pale, their eyes red from crying. "We're okay," Sadie whispered. "You pushed us. We just have bruises." Chloe nodded. She didn't trust her voice. She was grateful, so deeply grateful that it hurt, but underneath the gratitude was a cold, rising terror. 3 months without work. 3 months of rent with no income. 3 months of groceries, electricity, medical bills. She didn't have savings. She had a checking account that went into the negatives every month and a prayer that nothing bad would happen. Something bad had happened. Then the hospital social worker came with more news. The van that hit her belonged to a medical supply company. Chloe had been carrying equipment from her home nursing job, a portable oxygen tank, a wound care kit, and a box of expensive disposable supplies. All of it was destroyed in the accident. The company was holding her responsible for the loss. $25,000. Plus her own medical bills, which were already climbing. Chloe closed her eyes. She thought about her mother, lying in that hospice bed, telling her that life wasn't fair, but that didn't mean it wasn't worth living. She thought about her father, stubborn to the end, refusing to believe that anything could break him. She thought about Sadie and Caleb, asleep now in the chairs beside her, their heads together like two birds on a wire. She opened her eyes and called the only person she could think of, a woman from church who had once offered to help with anything at all. That woman, whose name was Irene, did something Chloe never expected. She posted the story online. Not for money, not for fame, but because she believed that communities were supposed to act like communities. Within 24 hours, the post had been shared over 1,000 times. People were leaving comments. I've been where she is. How do I send something? This isn't right. She was protecting her kids. 3 days later, Chloe got an email from a man named Derek. He didn't say much. Just that he had read her story, that it reminded him of his own mother, and that he wanted to help. Chloe assumed it was a scam. She almost deleted it. But something made her reply. She asked what kind of help. He said, all of it. Derek lived 3 states away. He ran a small construction company and had lost his father in a workplace accident when he was 16. His mother had worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, and had died of a heart attack at 53. He didn't have a family of his own. He had money that he had been saving for a renovation that could wait. And he had decided, after reading Irene's post, that waiting was for people who hadn't seen what exhaustion looked like up close. He paid the $25,000 directly to the medical supply company. He paid the hospital bills in full. He found a small house for rent, 3 bedrooms, a real backyard with a dying apple tree, and a porch where Chloe could sit with her leg propped up. He covered the first year's rent. Then he called Chloe and said, "What do you actually want to do? Not what you have to do. What do you want to do?" Chloe cried for 10 minutes before she could answer. "I used to cut hair," she said. "Before the kids. Before everything. I loved it. People trusted me. I made them feel good about themselves." Derek didn't hesitate. Then open a salon. He didn't give her a handout. He gave her a loan, no interest, no deadline, just a handshake over a video call. Enough money to rent a small storefront, buy chairs and mirrors and sinks, and stock the shelves with products that didn't smell like bleach and regret. Chloe opened Sheer Hope on a cold January morning. Her leg was still in a brace. Sadie and Caleb stood by the door with a pair of scissors made of cardboard, cutting a ribbon that wasn't real. The first customer was an elderly woman from church who wanted a trim and stayed to tell stories about her late husband. Within 6 months, the salon was breaking even. Within a year, Chloe had hired 2 other stylists, single mothers, both of them, women who had been looking for someone to believe in them. She worked from a stool now, her leg healed but not strong, and she laughed more than she had in a decade. Sadie started middle school and joined the art club. Caleb learned to climb the dying apple tree and declared himself king of the backyard. Chloe never forgot the rain. She never forgot the sound of the van or the look on her children's faces in that hospital room or the $25,000 that felt like a life sentence. But she also never forgot what happened next. The way a stranger's story can become your own. The way one person's decision to reach out can turn a disaster into a detour. She kept a framed photo on the wall of the salon, just above the register. It was a picture of her mother and father, young and smiling, standing in front of a house they couldn't afford. Underneath, in Sadie's handwriting, were 4 words, "Keep going. It works." Some nights, after the salon closed and the kids were asleep, Chloe would sit on her porch and look at the stars. She didn't pray anymore, not in the way she used to. But she whispered something into the dark, just in case someone was listening. She said, "I'm still here. And I'm still trying." And somewhere, in the silence that followed, she almost thought she heard an answer.